What's up guys and welcome back to On The Brick, where, well, you probably already know it's not the Sandcrawler again. I was actually going to release that today, however when I was filming some stuff for it, the front fell off.
Well, some of them are built so the front doesn't fall off at all.
Well, wasn't this built so the front wouldn't fall off?
Well, obviously not.
So instead, today we are going to be looking at the J1 Proton Cannon from the Separatist Army, which is totally worth looking at in its own right. Now, this build comes from the designer Icarus Builds, who has made some amazing things. It contains 923 pieces, and it's 12.5 inches long, 13 inches wide, and 6 inches tall, or 32 by 35 by 16 centimeters. And of course, these instructions are sold by brickvault, so you'll find that link down below, or if you want a part kit from me, I'll also link that down there too. This is the first CIS build I've ever done, and the first from Icarus Builds as well, and in all honesty, this was probably a really good one to start with. While it certainly has some flaws I'll go into later, I think the end product is absolutely worth it. Not only does this capture the look of the Proton Cannon, droid, whatever you want to call it, really well, but the final design just looks good in general. It's incredibly smooth. There are some really interesting techniques used here, probably to a little bit of a detrimental degree. However, I personally love how all these weird shapes come together, and I really love just the smoothness of this top section. It looks really nice. There are also some details here to be seen as well. Obviously, there's things like the eyes, which tell you that, well, this is just a droid. I think it's pretty easy to forget in the Separatist Army how everything is a droid, which is really weird when you actually think about it, because this has a pilot. And that's just a little weird because you have a droid piloting a droid, and why does it need to pilot a droid? But anyway, there's the eyes, it looks really nice, and then there's also like the seat here, which again is pretty minimal, but I still love what they did with like the skate pieces here, or rollerblades I think they're actually called, and you can actually fit a droid here. This is included in the part list as well, and well, there is no actual like way to plug this in. You do have to just sit it there, but it works. Actually putting this thing together wasn't all too difficult at all. There were some sections that again I'm going to talk about in just 1 second here, but for the most part it was pretty straightforward and not too hard at all. I think someone who has never built custom sets before would probably find this to be a good first set. It has just enough of a challenge to let them know what they're getting into, with some really unique and weird things that we don't oftentimes see, but if they're able to figure it out and master that, they'll be fine in any other set. But I do need to take a moment to talk about some of the flaws. The first is that there's a tiny section back here, I've circled it in red in brickvault's photo, that for me just did not work. There is supposed to be a small sub-build here that curves off the bottom of the cannon, but with these gray 2 pieces and how it's all set up, they just kept falling off. No matter what I did, or even if I was just sitting there, they would fall off on their own. And part of that is because these 2 pieces are really weirdly done. These tube sections aren't really that hard to do. You do have to be a little meticulous with them, making sure you're following the instructions as best as you can. Even though the instructions in this section are a little weird, it's just a series of like actual pictures telling you what to do, and then good luck. And look, I'm not blaming them for that. There's no way to actually do that in a thing like Studio, so the way they did it is the best way that you can at the moment. But the point is that this setup meant that the tiny section in the back just couldn't stay on. Again, not that big of a deal. However, one much bigger section that I've had continuous problems with in terms of it falling off is of course the front cannon itself. It's really flimsily connected, and just about any time I move this build, it falls. And just so that you are all aware, this build was done using 100% genuine Lego pieces. You can see that here on the cannon, and in several other places along this build. Just to be clear here, what I'm saying is that this problem and the others are not from the pieces that I used. This was done entirely using genuine Lego. Of course though, just like the last problem, this one is really easily fixed. You just slip it right back on. However, this build for me has one giant flaw that really does bring it down a little bit, quite literally. Unfortunately, these legs don't really work that well, which is why it's been elevated this entire time. You see, if I take it off of the little platform I've had it on and just sit it on its own legs, this is what happens. I don't know why it can't really support itself, and believe me, I have spent hours trying to figure it out, but it just can't. I have gone over the instructions again, I've redone the legs, I've tried different things, and I think whatever it is focused entirely on this one leg here, but the other ones also sag down a lot and literally it cannot support itself. Well, that's not the best phrasing. As you can see, it does support itself a little bit, but it does definitely sag and isn't as upright as brickvault's video and pictures make it seem. I don't know what they did differently though. And this is one of those things where your mileage will vary. You might not have this problem at all, and who knows. So I did need to bring it up, but obviously people have been able to build this without this problem. So with all that said, and despite the flaws, this just gets a solid 7 out of 10 across the board. The build is good, the instructions are good, the price for it is good, and the final design and all that is good. There's nothing that I would say on here is like super great, and there are definitely those flaws, but overall the final design and sitting this on my shelf is wonderful. So again, if you're interested in building this yourself, link to both the instructions and a part kit will be down below. Please do let me know your thoughts on this or what other CIS builds you would like to see me do. Remember to like and subscribe to help appease that algorithm, and if you want to support me further, you can always check me out on Instagram, Discord, and of course on Patreon, where you can join all of these wonderful people on screen, including one of the newest members that just joined. So thank you, and thank you to Jonathan and Project Elements. I hope you all have a wonderful and safe day. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.